So you're at that stage in your life where you need a practical small SUV, but you're not quite ready to give up on your love of youthful, hot hatch performance just yet. For a few years now, the 300 horsepower Volkswagen T-Roc R has been the best option available for making family trips to the supermarket a lot more thrilling. But let's be frank, that's a car that's also just as good at getting lost in the car park. Step Forward Mini, which has entered the ring with its own 300 horsepower solution to family life, bringing a bolder design, a massively uplifted interior, and some John Cooper Works magic.
And all for a lot less money than the now much older T-Roc R, and even more surprisingly, a lot less than its very closely related sibling, the slightly bigger BMW X1 M35i.
So in this review, we're going to find out if the Mini is the best value offering for those of you looking for practicality and fun in equal measures. Let's start by looking at the proposition. The JCW starts at a very competitive £41,575, but if you want a top grade level 3 like this one, you're going to need to add 5.2k to your bill. But that still only just takes it above the Volkswagen T-Roc R, and it leaves it way below its BMW sibling. And it's not just cheaper to buy, it's cheaper to run as well, because even though it's the biggest Mini, it glides through the air more smoothly thanks to a few shared features with the electric Countryman, which help to give it a healthy advantage when it comes to fuel economy. Take these new headlights, which have lost their classic round design, but now they've got a curved top, and they get these daytime running lights that are customizable, and then the front grille, which is mostly blanked off, but it gets a checkered flag design as a nod to the Countryman's surprisingly wild heritage. Then there are these curved roof rails, which are more aerodynamic than normal ones, and then there's this wraparound spoiler at the back, which doesn't just help to clean up the airflow, but also helps you look cooler on the school run. All right, these taillights don't help with your fuel economy, but they're customizable and they change with your drive mode.
On our level 3 car, we've also got these two-tone diamond cut 20-inch alloys, but you can get simpler 19-inch ones if you prefer. We'll see if having the bigger rims hurts the ride in just a moment.
But first, let's talk about the practicality of this new Countryman, which, well, it doesn't have the biggest boot in the class, but compared to its predecessor, it is much bigger. And also compared to that T-Roc R from Volkswagen, which has a more slanty roofline, this, with its more upright roofline, has more space than that. And it's going to be easy for family suitcases and extra bags, and also probably the family dog. But if you need more room, you can lift up this floor, which actually folds up. And if you need more room still, you can fold the rear bench down in 3 parts, which beats that T-Roc's 2 parts, or you can slide the bench forward as well.
So it's a slam dunk for the JCW's boot. But what about the interior?
Now, before we talk about space and practicality, it's worth highlighting how much of a step forward the interior of this Mini Countryman takes. Compared to the old one, well, it feels a big step forward, but compared to its main rival, that Volkswagen T-Roc R, well, this thing feels a whole generation ahead, and that's because it literally is. That T-Roc came from 2017, and don't you know it when you step into this, because it feels very 2024, not least because of this thing in the middle of the dash here. It is a circular 240mm display. It's totally unique, and it's only shared with other Mini models, including the hatch, and it feels really up to date. It's good to look at, it's nice to use, and it's quick to react as well. So let me show you some of it. So firstly, the thing I love about it is the fact that it harks back to the original Mini in its shape and its position. And now, unlike previous ones with all the tech, well, they used to have a slab of digital. This fills the whole screen. So as I'm cycling through, you can see all of the menus fit perfectly. As I go through to my shortcuts, they all make best use of it. And even Apple CarPlay and Android Auto fill the screen really well. The whole wallpaper, in fact, fills the screen. And it doesn't mean that you have to lose access to other essential controls. For example, the home button is always on screen down here. And your climate control, while it's not physical buttons, which I obviously would prefer, it's a good digital version. So it means I've got my switch down here, although you'll see that it doesn't respond on the first touch, which is a bit annoying. I have to press it twice to then get it to adjust the temperature. So that's a slight annoyance, but otherwise, the fact it's always on screen is very, very good. I love the fact that it's got some original Mini features as well. So when I indicate, you'll see just like the original cars, it will indicate on the center of the screen. And okay, while we have lost my favorite original features from the earlier Countryman and other hatchback models as well, we haven't got these chrome switches down here, which I always thought looked great and were very tactile. Now we've gone for these more plasticky ones. But actually, if you look closer, you'll spot that they also do nod to the original 60s Mini. This is just where the key would have gone on the early 59 cars. So it's plasticky, but it feels tactile and fun. And it also clears up a lot of space. It means that this cluster can be much narrower. So we've got room under here for a shelf. Now this shelf in this level 3 car is a wireless charging mat. And talking of storage space, you get plenty of the stuff in the Countryman. In fact, this whole center console feels like a storage zone, because under that shelf, You've got a big area of storage down here, and then the cup holders as well. Well, they are pretty generous. And I really like this little box up front here. You open it with this flap, and then in here, it's just another storage zone, but it means if you've got loose items or even the car keys, you can throw them in there. And then you've got another area of storage down here with a bit of a grippy service, but I don't know why they didn't turn this armrest, which I have to admit, as far as armrests go, is very good. It's soft and it extends quite far, but you can't open it, or at least I can't figure out how you would. So it feels like a wasted opportunity there. But at least you do get a couple of USB-C ports down there and also a 12-volt plug. So you're sorted for charging. Obviously you've got the wireless mat as well. And then you've got massive door pockets, big enough to fit in your reusable water bottles. And the glove box as well can swallow one because it's pretty spacious as well. Also, the whole cabin feels more airy thanks to the panoramic sunroof on this level 3 car. It goes all the way back and it opens at the front here, so you get loads of light. It feels nice and lounge-like to go with these nice materials, this vegan interior. And also adding to that lounge vibe is the Harman Kardon sound system, which feels like a genuine hi-fi. It is super good and it makes every journey, even the most traffic-filled, much more fun.
But merely sounding fun isn't enough for a John Cooper Works Mini. The name is reserved only for the hottest Mini since the 60s, so it's got a lot to live up to.
With 300 horsepower and a front end that feels really quite keen, it definitely feels like a fun Mini, albeit one that is quite big. They've done a fantastic job of making this tall and large car go around corners with the sort of enthusiasm you'd expect from a JCW Mini. I don't think it's quite on par with the Volkswagen T-Roc R for ultimate thrills on the road. That car can really play with you and convince you that you're driving a hot hatch, but it isn't far off. I mean, look at this. Just grips through the bend. With that all-wheel drive traction as well, you're forever confident that you can use the power however you want and however clumsily.
And while we're no strangers to fake engine and exhaust sounds, I welcome it in the JCW because the noises played by the speakers, including fake exhaust pops and crackles, add to the theatre inside without making you look like a yobbo to the people outside.
There are some authentic sounds in there as well. I can hear a slight turbo whine coming through. I mean, maybe it is piped in, but it sounds authentic to me. So if anyone has come from another type of hot Mini, one with a JCW badge, there's enough character in this one that you're going to feel a familiar sense of fun. Where this Mini does feel, well, quite considerably below what other JCWs offer is through bends at much higher speeds. But let's be frank, who's driving a Countryman through corners like they're driving a go-kart? There is a go-kart mode in this, but I mean, this is the biggest go-kart I've ever seen. Brakes feel good as well, really responsive, consistent, and it means I can go into a bend, click down 2 gear shifts, keep on the power through the corner, and just flow with the corner as well, flow with the car. This is in a Countryman.
You know what else only takes 2 clicks? Searching through our variety of Minis at great prices on Cinch, from hot JCWs to the more affordable trims. Speaking of which...
And overall, this car just feels like a standard Countryman. It does ride a bit firmer, and absolutely there are some potholes that will jiggle the car, but it never gets firm. And that's despite the fact that compared to the T-Roc R, you cannot get adaptive dampers on this Mini, and that on the spec sheet looks like a big negative. Adaptive dampers allow you in that T-Roc to make the car softer and more forgiving on a slightly bumpier road, but then obviously stiffen it back up on the fun stuff. This is always in one setting when it comes to the suspension, but it does feel well judged. It's good enough that fun times the car remains stable, but then when I'm cruising along, I don't feel like I'm being punched in the backside every time I go over a crack or a rut. And even in town and over speed bumps, it is actually genuinely quite a comfortable car to drive. The engine as well, with its surplus of torque, with its surplus of muscle, it just doesn't have to work that hard. So I can leave it in automatic mode, forget about the shift paddles, and just let the car do all the work. And that's true whether I'm driving it slowly in town or whether I'm on the motorway as well. While this is a massive Mini, it definitely doesn't feel mini at all. At least it feels slimmer on the road when you're reversing because of some of the best high-tech cameras I've seen in this class. In fact, I would go so far as saying these are the most high-definition reversing cameras I've seen in a crossover. So much so that I can really see the detail, not just in where I'm going, but also in the brickwork as well. They really need to clean up some of that algae, don't they? It's such an easy car to reverse. I've got an above view as well, and then if for some reason I wanted to, for example, get my 3D view, well then I can also do that as well, and I can move the camera around into different positions. And there's even a car wash mode as well, which helps you drive the car straight on a track. So if, for example, you're going through a width restriction or a car wash, well then you can do that much more easily because it allows you, as I'll show you now, to keep your lines dead straight. It's very helpful for such a big car. If you do have people in the back, well, there is a surprising amount of space. I mean, firstly, the leg and foot room is really, really generous in this car. And you've even got a lot of headroom as well below this panoramic sunroof. And if you sat in one of these seats, well then you're gonna have a very comfortable experience because this whole bench can be moved in 3 parts and it can lean backwards as well. So you can lay back or you can sit forward. And even the middle seat passenger, I have to say, has more room than you might expect. There's a good amount of footroom thanks to a cutaway under the vents and the USB-C ports that are down there. And okay, yes, my shoulders are pushing into their parts there, but it's okay. 3 teenagers in the back of this should squeeze in okay. 3 adults, maybe it's going to be a bit uncomfortable, but at least you've got a place to put your things. I mean, firstly, I'm sat on where cup holders can be exposed and there's an armrest, and you've got decent sized door pockets which can take cups on either side, and you've even got pockets in the back of the seats which can take, I don't know, your textbooks or other teenagery things. And if you're younger still, well, you're going to be held nice and tightly with easily accessible ISOFIX bars as well. So I think we can all agree that this new Mini Countryman JCW nails the brief when it comes to practicality, and it gets very, very close to that T-Roc R when it comes to on-road driving thrills. But it leaves it in its dust when it comes to in-cabin technology, which is light years ahead. What's not to love? Although if you're still not sold on it, well, try one of these.